to this How to Kick the Sugar Habit workshop. I'm Heather Mitchell, and I'm a certified integrative nutrition coach. I'm going to talk a little bit about all of that, but this is going to be your guide to understanding your relationship with sugar. And it's the holidays. So I'm sure all of us are fighting somewhat an internal battle of not eating all the sugar that's going to be out there and coming our way for the holidays. So, the intention for today's workshop, I want to permanently change your relationship with sugar forever. So, you're going to learn some really valuable stuff here today that's going to help you with that. I'm going to give you a sugar 101 overview. So, I kind of can let you see exactly what sugar is doing to your body, and you can know all about sugar. And then we're going to go into my top tips for kicking the sugar habit. And then maybe choose one or two of these tips. That's what I'm hoping you'll do. And then you'll stick with it. You'll at least give it a good try and see if it doesn't help you with all the sugar cravings that you might be experiencing, especially right now. Okay. So I'm going to give you some really great information, but we're going to use the chat box. So if you see at the bottom, there's a button that says chat, and let's interact there. So whenever I ask a question, you just pop it. Like I might say, hey, do we have a deal? You're going to take one or two tips and you're going to type the word deal into the chat box. Okay. So let's ask that now. I'm going to give you a lot of tips today, some really great stuff. And what I want from you guys is a promise and a commitment that you'll try at least one or two of those tips to help curb your cravings for sugar foods. Deal, type deal in the chat box if we have a deal. Okay. It looks like you guys are getting the point here. Okay. Good. So let me tell you just a little bit about me. So I do these corporate wellness workshops as often as you guys want to have one. I've got topics on everything you can imagine, from mental health, depression, anxiety, that kind of stuff, to movement and exercise, to nutrition, and just how to really take care of your body. So we can do those at any time. I coach in groups and one-on-one. So if anyone's interested in some private coaching or some group coaching, I do that as well. I run seasonal 5-day whole food reset, like a detox program for people, or sometimes people want to work long term. If they have a lot of weight to lose, they might work with me for anywhere from a month to 12 months to really get that weight off and feel good and establish some healthy habits. And then I just love helping people change their relationship with sugar. So this is what I do all the time. So from here, what I'm going to do, because I can't really turn my video off from that viewpoint, I'm going to stop my video here so that I can see my slides. They get in my way of my slides here. My picture does. But let's go through a nice little sugar 101 for you guys. The bottom line is sugar is just simply a craving that the body's asking for more energy. And so you have to understand that that's what's going on. And so when you give in to sugar, it starts to enter the bloodstream swiftly, and it starts to wreak havoc on the blood sugar level, first pushing it sky high. And that's going to cause you to feel kind of excited or nervous and hyperactive, but then it drops it extremely low. It's going to cause fatigue, depression, and exhaustion. And we start riding this emotional roller coaster, feeling happy and energetic for a while, and then suddenly finding ourselves feeling irritated and not quite ourselves. So in the chat box, if you've experienced this sugar rush crash roller coaster, just type me in there, okay? Just so we kind of can see who's with us, who's kind of understanding what's going on here. And it's probably a lot of you guys. It's because your body wants to maintain a balanced blood sugar. So it's telling you to eat something to bring that blood sugar back up. And blood sugar often drops around 3 p.m. That's a few hours after lunch. So if you can understand that, we can start to create a plan around that. So if you have those mid-afternoon snack attacks, or you feel like you want to just eat the whole fridge in the afternoon, it's because that blood sugar is starting to drop again. And your body wants to maintain balanced blood sugar. So it's going to be telling you to eat something every few hours. So of course, let me ask you this question. Which country do you think is the largest consumer of sweetened products? Type your answer in the chat box. Who do you think it is? The largest consumer. I'm going to look at the chat right now. USA, USA, USA. Oh, you guys know, don't you? Well, you're right. The USA is the number one consumer of sweetened products. You're right about that. Americans consume more than 130 pounds of sugar and sweeteners per year. Can you believe that? 130 pounds of sugar. That's what an average American will consume per year. And in contrast, we only consume an average of about 5.6 pounds of broccoli. What's going on here? Well, people will say, well, if you maybe dip the broccoli in chocolate, I'll eat it, right? We kind of want sugar on everything because sugar, it tells the palate, it gives you a dopamine hit in the brain for one, saying, hey, let's have more of that. And so that's what's going on, is you're getting that hit of dopamine every time you eat sugar. But here's the deal. The USDA and the World Health Organization, they recommend that we consume no more than 9 teaspoons per day of sugar. And that's for men. Okay. Now for women, it's less. It's 6 teaspoons a day. And for kids, it's only 3 teaspoons per day. Could you take down the pics of the donuts? Yeah, seriously. But we want to actually talk about the donuts in just a second. And you need to understand that there's 4 grams of sugar per teaspoon. So that's how we kind of understand how much sugar is in my package of whatever I've got. Okay? So if you eat and drink an item with 36 grams of sugar, that's 9 teaspoons, and that's going to be your daily limit for the entire day. Keep that in mind. And think about kids and their school lunch. They get chocolate milk. They might have like a packaged one of those, what are those sandwiches? Those peanut butter and jelly uncrustables. All of these things have tons of sugar in it, and our kids are just getting hit with sugar all day long if they're eating the school lunch. Okay, so keep this in mind. We're all getting a lot of sugar, more than we're supposed to have. So let me ask you this. How much do you think is in a Krispy Kreme donut? Put in the chat box. How many grams of sugar do you think is in a Krispy Kreme donut? And you might be surprised. Oh, Polly, she says 10. Any other guesses? You think it's 10? Polly, 35, 6. Polly knows her Krispy Kreme because it is 10. Okay. Nice. So 10 grams of sugar, we divide that by 4. That's 2.5 teaspoons of sugar in that donut. So for ladies, if we can have 6 teaspoons of sugar, we've already almost had half in this one donut, and that's for our entire day. Now, sometimes we think donuts have way more, and actually, your Cliff bars and some of your granola bars are going to have more than a donut would, which is interesting. Okay, we'll talk about reading labels too. All right, so that's kind of what's going on there. In different amounts, sugar occurs naturally in all foods that are containing carbohydrates, such as fruits, vegetables, dairy, and whole grains. But those are called complex carbs. You've probably heard of complex carbs because these foods also contain fiber and protein. Your body digests them slower, and then that results in a steady supply of glucose or fuel to your cells, providing long lasting energy. However, many food manufacturers use added sugars to give their products like soda or packaged cookies flavor and appeal, and to extend their shelf life, which you already know about. But these simple sugars, they digest quickly, and that's causing those blood glucose spikes and crashes. Simple sugars can lead to weight gain because our cells do not require large amounts of glucose at one time. And that extra sugar, where is it stored and how is it stored? Type in the chat box. What's going on with that extra sugar? It's stored as, somebody knows, fat. Yes, that's right. It's stored in our fat cells. You've got it, Polly. So let's look at this one. How many grams of sugar are in a Mountain Dew? What do you think? 35, 40. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. It's going to shock you guys. The answer is 77 grams of sugar are in a Mountain Dew, like the normal size bottle that the kids are drinking. So, how many teaspoons of sugar is that? 19.25 teaspoons of sugar. We have no idea, you guys, until we start reading labels and we understand how much sugar are in these products. What about a glass of Chardonnay? Yes, we need to look that up. We need to see how many grams of sugar are in a glass of Chardonnay, divide that number by 4, and that's how many teaspoons. And look, we'll try to justify everything, won't we, as humans? We'll be like, well, I can get away with this or that. But the truth is, over time, what it's doing to the cells of our body on the inside, it's not pretty and it could lead to some disease. So we might consider maybe not cutting everything we love out. And we'll talk about this too, but adding in just some really good habits and healthy habits. And that seems to crowd out some of the bad stuff too. One of the most alarming stats in medicine right now is the rate at which people are diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And this is especially heartbreaking because we know that reducing processed sugar and eating a healthy, balanced diet can prevent the condition. And there's many studies out there that talk about that. Now, the Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center says that sugar can increase your risk of cancer. There's a handout that goes with this webinar today. It's called 30 Reasons Why Sugar is Ruining Your Life. Do you guys have that handout in front of you? And if you do, just go ahead and type it in the chat. Which one surprised you? What about agave nectar? Yeah. Agave nectar, again, is one of those sweeteners they're telling us to stay away from because it spikes insulin so bad. Okay. We always thought it was better, but now we're seeing research that it's not. If you don't have that handout, though, I'm sure that Kelly will get it to you somehow and you can print it off and just understand that there's so many, many reasons why sugar is affecting your body and so many reasons to get rid of it. All right, let's talk about why sugar qualifies as an addictive substance. Here's why. Eating even a small amount creates a desire for more. Have you found that to be true? And quitting suddenly causes withdrawal symptoms such as headaches, cravings, mood swings, and fatigue. Yeah, I've definitely seen that happen. So here we go next. I just want you to not partner up, but maybe post in the chat. What is one of your favorite sweet foods? What do you like to eat that's sweet? We know you like Chardonnay. Who said that? You kind of like your alcohol here and there, right? What are some of your very favorite treats? Put them in there. I want to see. Chocolate? Is it soda? Is it donuts? I mean, I love a good holiday donut here and there, right? Coffee with cookies, agave. Okay, we are asking about agave, right? But we don't just take the bottle of agave and squirt it into our mouth, do we? I mean, maybe, but these are some of the treats people like are ice cream, yogurt. Yes. I used to love when I was pregnant with my second child, it was boxed cereal. I would just love going down the cereal aisle and picking out a sugary cereal, and that was like my treat at night. And I just loved having cereal. Frosted Flakes. Yeah. Um, what are some of the side effects that you've noticed from sugar? Have you had headaches, mood swings, low energy, poor sleep, dull skin, weight gain? Do you crave more sugar? Put it in there. I want to see what happens to you guys that you've noticed when you're eating sugar. Headaches. Yeah. Jim says headaches. Polly says headaches. Sluggish. Do you ever feel like you need an afternoon nap? Like your energy just gets low? And it might be because some of the foods you're eating right now, yeah, about right now, right? Some of the foods we're eating might be a little higher in carbohydrate, which is converting to sugar in the body. And now we feel a little bit sluggish. So, what do we do? What do we do here? Well, let's get into my top tips for kicking the sugar habit. Here we go. You're ready for it? You're ready for all the tips? My first tip right here is to start by limiting the sugar. We got to lay off the sugar. And this may sound impossible, but it's not. The following 14 tips that I'm going to be giving you today will all help you naturally reduce your sugar intake. And I love sugar myself, and I kind of am recovering from that. And I feel like I'm on a really good path now. I found some great stuff that works, and these tips are definitely part of all of that. Now, I've coached hundreds of clients to get off that sugar roller coaster. They sometimes will do my detox or they'll come and coach with me for longer, but we help them to really find balance in their diets. So, we need to avoid or limit sweetened coffee drinks. I know you love your coffee, but if we can avoid or limit the sweetened coffee drinks, candy, cookies, and most desserts, because some cravings, they come from foods that we have recently eaten. After one sip or bite, your body will want more. Do you notice that around the holidays, your cravings for sweets increases after having more desserts than usual? Definitely. So we need to seek out low sugar or healthier alternatives such as 70% or higher dark chocolate versus milk chocolate. And I like, 85% dark chocolate bars. They have some really good ones at Trader Joe's. You can go down there and just enjoy a square every day. And sugar is okay in small quantities. I don't want to make it a villain, but most of us tend to have too much. And much of it comes in the form of sneaky sugar. Foods we don't suspect have sugar. And more on that in just a few minutes. But a great rule of thumb is to eat healthy, nutrient dense foods 80% of the time. And then when you go out to eat or at a party, you can indulge for the other 20%. And I adopt that 90-10 rule myself, where 90% of the time I try to eat really clean and healthy. And then 10%, I just allow myself to have a treat and allow myself to enjoy yummy foods that I don't normally eat. But we are all unique and you need to figure out what works best for you. I have some clients that eat 100% healthy Monday through Friday, and then they're more relaxed on the weekends. Is that you? And part of one on one health coaching is figuring out what works best for each client. How about sugar alcohol found in snacks? Some people say sugar alcohol is not bad because they're on a keto diet, and I think that doesn't count for their points or whatever. So I haven't done a lot of research on sugar alcohols. What I have been told is that they aren't bad, but I need to research that more. And Kelly loves her ice cream Klondike bars. I do too. Those are really good. Yeah. So we got to limit that stuff, right? Here's my next tip. I want you to avoid the fake stuff. Some of you aren't drinking soda, but you're drinking Diet Coke and diet drinks and zero, right? But a lot of those have this artificial junk in it, and artificial ingredients affect blood sugar levels and they're linked to other serious health problems, even worse than just having sugar. So, if you need to add sweetener, use just a small amount of natural sugar. And if you need to use white or brown sugar, try to use less. So if I have a recipe that calls for a cup of sugar, I go half that. And I find that my cookies or whatever I'm making taste just fine. Like I don't need the extra. Your palate changes and you will crave fewer sweets as you eat less sugar. And if you want sweetness, I recommend consuming real sweeteners like local wild honey or unprocessed stevia, 100% pure maple syrup, and dates. Those are the kind of sweeteners I like. And you've probably seen coconut sugar as well. And that's great too. Okay. There's definitely, if you go to natural grocers, they have a whole aisle of really great products you can swap sugar out for that are actually sugar-free or fat-free on a product. That usually means artificial sweeteners are in the product. So artificial sweeteners, they're like aspartame, like Equal or NutraSweet or saccharin, like Sweet and Low. And the body does not know how to assimilate these artificial chemicals, which is why it has 0 calories. But research continues to show that these substitutes actually cause weight gain by stimulating your appetite and your body's fat storage capabilities, even though they are touted as diet products. We need some long term studies on this, so let's just assume it's not safe and let's stick to some healthier options. All right, the next one is this. You want to find the sneaky sugar. What are some items you've purchased and later were shocked to find out that they contain sugar? Go ahead and post it in the chat box. Is there anything that you were shocked about that contains sugar? Oranges. Yeah, oranges are going to have the natural, right? So that means it's going to be a complex carb, which might mean that it has your fiber and some other healthy vitamins. Ketchup. Yes. Yes. And Emily says, how do I quit sugar in my coffee? And you know what's really good substitute is they have those things called nut pods, which are like a hazelnut creamer and it's made from almond milk or hazelnut. And you can get those again at any grocery store like Sprouts or Natural Grocers again. Really great, and they sweeten it up. It's good. And you can start to tame your palate and train it not to need as much sweetener as you've been having in your coffee before. Sauces, rice, and popcorn have a very high glycemic index. Yep. They are called nut pods, Nutpods, and those nut pods are it's actually a non-dairy creamer, and you can get them in any refrigerated section in the grocery stores, such as Sprouts. Okay, so write that down. Yes. Well, there's nearly 70% of the added sugar Americans eat come from processed foods such as bread, salad dressings, peanut butter, and pasta sauces. Okay. To avoid this sneaky sugar, you've got to limit processed food that comes in a package and focus on real nutrient dense foods. Ramen noodles. Now, I don't know that that has sugar in it. I haven't checked a package of ramen. So go home and check if you got a package of ramen, but we do know that ramen has MSG in it. You'll see that Top Ramen, that brand right there, says no added MSG, but it still has those MSGs in it. Okay. Yeah, processed fat. Okay, good. So even some so-called healthy foods contain sugar, like a lemon poppy seed Cliff Bar. Guess how many grams of sugar that has? 21 grams of sugar, or 5 teaspoons. So if you compare that to a chocolate glazed cake donut from Dunkin' Donuts, which has 13 grams of sugar or 3 teaspoons, we can be tricked sometimes by thinking something's healthy and it's really not. All right. Overconsumption of refined sweets and added sugars found in everyday foods has led to an increase of chronic disease. You've probably seen that happen in our country. So here's some of those products, right, that are going to have some sneaky sugar in it. If you do buy non-dairy milks like almond milk or coconut milk, always buy the unsweetened kind. You don't need to have the extra sweet in it. Okay. So lots of our canned goods, our ranch dressings, of course, our boxed stuff we know has a bunch of sugar, but your barbecue sauce, you know all of this already, that there's lots of sugar in these products. And if we're not careful, and we need to become label readers, okay? And that's what's coming up next here, because sugar is often disguised in lots of languages. Actually, it has over 250 aliases, and they're labeled as corn syrup, lactose, dextrose, maltose, glucose, or fructose. Anything ending with ose is typically a sweetener. You know about high fructose corn syrup. Any items that list any form of sugar in the first few ingredients or has more than 4 grams of sugar, I think should be limited or not eaten at all. So look at a package of whatever you're eating, and if sugar's within the first 3 or 4 ingredients, just know it's going to have a lot of extra sugar in it. Okay. What do you think about half and half instead of sugary creamer? Yeah, dairy's not off limits on my detox program. Like it's a 5-day one. That's more of an elimination diet, and that's when we don't do dairy for like 5 days to see if it's causing the inflammation in your body to go down. But I don't think dairy's off limits if you feel like you do pretty well on it. You'll know because your skin will break out, or you'll have phlegm in your throat, or maybe you get a stuffy nose. You get gassy. Those are some of the signs that dairy probably isn't sitting well with you and your body. But I know a lot of countries like France and Bolivia, they do a lot of dairy and they lose weight and they feel healthy. So you just really need to see. And with dairy, I find that raw dairy is the best. Okay. If I'm going to do dairy, it's going to be raw and it's going to be good whole dairy. It's not going to be fat free because we know they're going to add some sugars in there. Yeah, and if you do have phlegm issues, we know for sure that dairy, you have a sensitivity there. So maybe we find your dose for that so that we can get you to have your dairy still without having the phlegm issue, but you've got to know how much until it actually hits that point of phlegm, right? Might only be 1 or 2 bites and then that's it. That's all your body can handle. So we need to become these label readers. Any item that lists that sugar within the first 4 ingredients, I just try to limit it. And raise your hand right now, not raise your hand, but put in the chat if you read labels already when you go to the grocery store. Do you read labels? Just put me or yes, so I can see if you're already at that point reading labels. Okay. Yes, I don't. Now, How many of you here think you're going to start looking at some labels after hearing about today's, sugar, kick the sugar habit? Just put me. I just want to see if some of you will start to look at labels just a little differently. Just to see how many grams of sugar, just to know. It's just good to know. Even if you don't stop eating it, you still need to be your own health coach almost, where you're looking at labels and going, yeah, at least I understand what I'm doing. Be accountable for your own actions, huh? All right, let's go on. The next tip here is to listen to your cravings. So, our bodies are sending us messages through discomfort or food cravings that need to be decoded. And so, you got to trust your body and listen to your cravings as if it's your new BFF. Okay. We may crave certain foods, such as sugar, when we are dissatisfied with a relationship, we feel bored, we're stressed, or we're uninspired. Think about it. Do you need a hug? Maybe you need a pleasant walk outside, a glass of water, or an apple with almond butter. Just listen to your body as it tells you what you actually need. Okay. So, fruits that are high in sugar, they're going to be on a glycemic scale. And you can go and Google type glycemic scale for fruits, and it will show you all of them. But the lower glycemic scale sugars or fruits that you want to consume instead would be your berries, your raspberries, blackberries, blueberries, strawberries. Okay. Have you been spending too much time in front of a computer screen, not been drinking enough water, drinking too much wine or alcohol? See, these messages, they're too important for us to ignore. And some of my clients, they'll keep a craving journal. They rate their cravings from 1 to 10 and note their thoughts and type of cravings they are having. And the first step is awareness of these cravings and thinking about why we may be having them. And cravings aren't a problem. Listen to what your body's telling you. We have been taught to believe that our inability to stick with a diet is our fault, a flaw in our body and our will. But when we give into those cravings, we feel guilty and kind of worthless, like we can't do it. But cravings are not a weakness. In reality, they are important messages meant to help us maintain balance. It all comes down to trusting our bodies instead of thinking of our cravings as an enemy to be ignored. So think of a craving as a best friend telling you a secret. And as you start listening to your body, this is something I had to learn how to do. It becomes easier to know which foods are serving you and which ones aren't. And it's easier to pick and choose the right foods at the right time of day that's going to serve your body the best. You got to start listening to that. Okay. Please type that in. What fruits are too high in sugar? Is that your question? Please type that in. I can't remember what you're asking, Jim. What am I typing in? But anyways, pop anything in the chat box. You can pop any questions in, and if Kelly can grab those questions for me at the end, we'll totally answer them. Okay. I think it was the website that I was talking about. Oh, I think I was telling you to type in the Google like high glycemic fruits was at the website, and that's all you'd have to do is Google it, and you'd see it would pop up a list for you. Okay. Here's the next tip I have is feel the difference in what you are eating. This is important. We think differently when we eat meat, we eat broccoli, drink coffee, drink alcohol, or eat sugar. And our food goes into our stomach, and as it gets digested, it gets absorbed into our blood. And our blood is what creates our cells, our tissues, our organs, even our thoughts. And research and personal experience both demonstrate that what we eat affects how we think and how we act. And stop and think for a moment about how you feel throughout the day. Do you sometimes feel like you have brain fog and are tired after lunch? Are you angry and irritable between meals? Or maybe you're energized by a great meal. We feel the difference in the moods that prompt us to eat certain kinds of foods. So, what is your mood craving? Let's think about that. And the standard American diet, known as the SAD diet, it's high in processed carbs and poor quality animal meat while lacking in vegetables and water. SAD, that standard American diet, leaves many people in a bad mood. It's hard to feel inspired and happy when you're living on chemical, artificial junk food. Many nutritionists refer to this relationship as the law of malnutrition because someone could be overweight or underweight and also be malnourished. People want to be lifted out of a bad mood and gain energy. But the irony is that these foods are a big part of the problem. So when your blood sugar goes up, you get that woohoo, that good feeling, but then it crashes down and you are in this vicious cycle. Since you need to eat more to feel that temporary good, you're just going on that roller coaster again and again. So starting today with an action plan and support, you can get off that sugar roller coaster for good. Each person's food sensitivity varies. And so this is called bio-individuality. A certain food could be good for one person, and for another person, the food is like poison. Every single person I have health coached is different. Most people, they need to drink more water, eat more vegetables, sleep more, and move more. But when it comes to behavior change and to truly figure out which foods are best for you, guess what? Each person's different. It's not the same for all of us. And it's amazing and an honor to help people feel good in their own bodies, maybe to get rid of anxiety, stop binge eating, or reduce pain in their body and inflammation. They have the freedom to choose foods that will nourish them and live the full life they have always wanted. Okay. So, our next tip then, and you might notice this too, when you eat a big steak and you're eating it at night, maybe it takes longer to digest. It just sits in your gut longer. Maybe you eat broccoli and you get gassy, right? There's some foods that just don't sit well with us, even if they might seem healthy. Okay. My next tip here is to drink more water. Most people are chronically dehydrated, and we often mistake thirst for hunger. And the first sign of dehydration is thirst. So we need to be listening to our body signals. Let's have everyone pick up your water bottle right now and just cheers. Cheers and take a sip. Yes, take a big sip right now. Good. Yes. Now, crowding out, I did mention this. You can also put in the chat box, okay? If certain foods you're not comfortable taking certain foods out of your diet. You like your sugar, you don't want to. Just put me in there. I like my alcohol, I like my sugar, I like my coffee, I like my donut, whatever it is. If there's certain things you don't want to cut out, I have a good idea for you, and that's the crowding out. See, one of the central concepts that I was taught at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition, where I went to health coaching school, it occurs when you add certain foods to your diet to crowd out the unhealthy cravings. An example is drinking more water and eating more greens to help control the cravings. So maybe you still want your soda. Let's just be mindful about drinking an extra glass or two of water that day. Okay. Or maybe right as you're drinking your soda, you're also drinking your water. Or maybe you pack an extra salad or some extra greens that day. A good measure of how much water you should drink per day is to take your body weight divided by 2 and change that to ounces. For example, if you weigh 160 pounds, then around 80 ounces of water would be the right place to start. Okay. And the amount of water will probably increase if you are exercising or you're out in the heat. But studies show that people who drink 2 glasses of water before meals, they feel fuller and they eat less. You've probably heard of that too. Our bodies naturally detox overnight, but we tend not to drink enough water to flush those toxins out. And I recommend to my clients to drink a full glass of water upon waking up, anytime they feel hungry, which, before a snack, and around 20 to 30 minutes before each meal. If you're not used to drinking water regularly, try initially replacing just one of your other drinks, such as a sugary drink or a coffee, with a glass of fresh water. And then keep checking your urine. As a guide, your urine should be plentiful. It should be pale in color and odorless, unless you've had asparagus, right? Can you drink too much water in one day? Well, I think it can cause some damage to the kidneys if we're over drinking. So really, I think the great rule of thumb is to divide your weight in half, and then that's the ounces of water you should take. If we're not drinking enough water, those fat cells, they stay stored in our body. They don't really get to flush out all the toxins that are building up in there. So what I do is I put rubber bands on my water bottle, 6 of them. And that reminds me that after I drink one bottle, I just take off a rubber band. And that tells me I've got 5 more to go. Some other people will take their gallon with them and they'll just mark mark with a Sharpie on that gallon and have a time next to it to have drinking this much by this much time. Other people have water apps on their phone that remind them. It's important that you just remember to keep drinking water, but we don't need to burn out the kidneys by over drinking, you know. We don't want to do that either. So I understand what you're saying there. So just take your body weight, divide it in half, that's your ounces, and stick to that number every day as much as you can, okay? And have fun with your water. Add fresh mint, some berries, cucumbers, lemon, or even essential oils to add more flavor. This is what I do. Some people say, well, can I add, like what are those called? Crystal Light packets or something to my water? I say no, and here's why, because something in it is sweetening that water. Even if it is a 0 calorie, even if it is stevia, you're still going to increase that. So you're going to get a little bit of a spike in that insulin still. And that's what we're trying to avoid at all costs. So I say the best ways to get a different flavor than just water is to add some fresh herbs to your water and some berries and cucumbers and lemon and those essential oils, like I said. And most people drink cold water, but you can mix it up and drink hot water with fresh lemon or ginger. And this is my go-to drink when I wake up in the morning. It's so great for the liver to have a mug of hot water with fresh lemon squeezed in it. Great for detoxing that liver. Okay, perfect way to start the day. You could drink green or herbal tea and experiment with the different flavors there. And if you have a favorite tea, pop it into the chat box. Let us know what tea, if you drink herbal tea, that you like. I know a lot of people love licorice tea, or any blend that has licorice in it for the sweet cravings. Okay. Protein supplements. You mean like a protein powder, like a drink like that? Yeah, that's okay. I also like plant-based protein powders. Or my favorite brand for that is Vega Sport, Sport, Vega Sport. That seems to taste the best if you're going with a plant-based, and I do like the mocha flavored one. That is my favorite and my go-to. So I'm not against having a protein shake every day. I would just make sure it's got some clean ingredients in it, and you don't need more than one protein shake a day. No, I think one is plenty. And take it after your workout if you're going to go to the gym, or sometimes that's your first meal of the day too. So good. All right. Herbal teas. Okay. I do like some licorice flavored ones. We just got to determine a good strategy that works for you so you remember to drink water. And here's my next tip. You got to give yourself a break and distract yourself. So be patient. Wait 20 minutes to evaluate what you are truly craving. If those cravings are coming on, and I mean, all kinds of thoughts are going on in your head. I want this. I got to have this. I need this. It may not even be food though. So remember, okay, do something active to distract your brain and those crazy cravings, such as you could like take a walk, you could play a game, or you could even do some cleaning, preferably not the kitchen, but distract your brain from those crazy cravings, okay, by doing some other kinds of activities. And if you are at work, see if you can take a real break and go outside and disengage from work. You may be stressed or sitting for too long and not taking care of your mental health. So that's got to be a priority for sure. After the 20-minute active break, if you are indeed hungry, you're going to be more mindful of choosing a nutrient dense snack instead of a sugar loaded carb. So, a glass of water, an apple with a small handful of nuts, that's a great go to snack. And they're easy to take along with you, whatever kind of day you might have planned. Okay, good. The next one, of course, is to eat your veggies. So we crave more because our body is starved for vitamins and minerals. So focus on adding 1 or 2 servings of vegetables at each meal, even in the morning, you guys. They will crowd out your cravings for unhealthy foods just like that. So your mom was right. You've got to eat your veggies. And eating healthy foods, they can crowd out the sugary junk foods during the day. So vegetables, they're high in vitamins and minerals. We can eat a lot of them without gaining weight. Okay, your body has less room for processed sugary foods that are nutrient deficient. We don't want a deficit in the nutrition that we're taking in. And once you start adding these foods to your diet, your body will naturally begin to crave them. It takes practice, but it does happen. So it's amazing from my own experience that the taste buds start to change. And it's exciting to crave healthier foods. Does anyone crave vegetables here? Do you have a favorite vegetable that you love to just pop into your lunchbox? Corn, yeah. Corn, Funny enough, Jim, you probably heard it's one of those vegetables that are more on the sweet side, right? So yeah, that could help with some of those cravings. But we also know that corn and soy and wheat are the most highly sprayed crops in the United States with glyphosate and chemical. And so if we're going to eat corn, I think it's a good idea to just buy a can of corn or corn that's organic. Cauliflower, spinach, baby carrots. Okay. I came from a ton of corn land. Yes. So you have corn in your blood, right? You want you love your corn. Good. Well, I think all of those are good to kind of keep in mind to help crowd out some of those cravings. Let's talk about another tip here, and that is to eat more sweet vegetables. So, long before processed food, the only source of sweet taste were plant foods such as squash, sweet potatoes, yams, carrots, onions, beets, blueberries, oatmeal grains, fruit, and spices just like cinnamon. And it's no coincidence that these sweet foods are also excellent sources of nutrients, energy, and fiber. Everything we need to maintain our health. And the best way to curb or alleviate increased sugar cravings is to provide the body with the sweetness that it needs by regularly eating naturally sweet foods. Okay. Yeah, asparagus is great. Lima beans. Yep, that's another source of protein. That's good. So think about that. Sweet vegetables, if you cook them up, they're going to soothe the internal organs of the body and energize the mind. And because many of these sweet vegetables are root vegetables, they are energetically grounding, which helps to balance out the spaciness people often feel after eating other kinds of sweet foods. So adding in sweet vegetables helps to crowd out less healthy foods in the diet. You can simmer them, you can puree them into a soup. Some people boil them. If you roast them in an oven, they really bring out the yummy caramelized sweet flavor. You could steam them. There's so many ways you could grate them on a salad. Just be creative and try to get more of these sweet veggies in, like your butternut squash or your spaghetti squash or your sweet potatoes or your yams. I love to roast big batches of veggies and have them ready for a quick meal or side. And it's perfect with some quinoa and half of an avocado for a healthy fast food meal at home. Okay, just remember that. The semi sweet vegetables include turnips, parsnips, and rutabagas. So if you've never tried any of those, go try some of those things. Try a different kind of vegetable this week. I always try to include different types of naturally sweet vegetables when I have people on the detox or when they're coming and coaching with me. It's fun to experiment with new naturally sweet foods you may have never had before. Add a dash of salt to fresh fruit to open up your taste buds. It's going to taste sweeter. If we are on a healthier diet, nourishing ourselves with milder forms of sweet vegetables, we don't need a big sugar hit from candy bars or soda to boost our energy levels. In fact, for most of my clients and me, candy bars don't even taste good to us anymore. And everyone loves that happy side effect of eating naturally sweet foods instead. So here's the next tip. Don't skip meals unless you're being very intentional about intermittent fasting. That's fine. But I have found that skipping meals really causes people to binge later on. So I want you to enjoy breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And maybe your breakfast is your biggest meal and your lunch is like a medium size, but your dinner is actually small. Okay. You can decide there. But it keeps your metabolism working efficiently. I don't usually go longer than 3 hours between, I call them fuelings or feedings or something little to keep my blood sugar balanced. I try to have some protein, a good balance of protein and a good carb in there too. And if you're grazing all day, it's important to set timers, 2 to 3 hours. Put something healthy into your body so that you don't end up binging later on, or grazing on the wrong stuff. So I usually, like I said, I have something in my body to fuel me every 2 to 3 hours that I know is going to be like fuel, like healthy for my body. And so you got to decide what that is. That's not a granola bar, right? Not something you're going to just grab off the shelf that has a ton of sugar, but something that has some good protein in it. It might be your protein shake for one of them. Another one will be obviously like a little side salad or maybe some cooked up sweet vegetables. Big problem here on skipping meals. Yes. Do you skip meals, Jim? Let us know if you skip meals. Some people love to skip meals and they just don't have time. They're so busy. I think we need to be more mindful about keeping that metabolism steady by not skipping meals and to chew your food and fully taste what you are eating. Don't eat while you are distracted, so your brain is experiencing the joy of eating as well. You will eat slower and typically eat less. It's incredible to me how little food the body really needs. So learn to listen to your body, and that's going to be essential for you and your health in the future. So don't skip meals, okay? Set timers to remind you, oh, it's been 2 hours before you even hit like a big hunger wave. You can take care of that by balancing the blood sugar just before that, right? After 2.5 hours. You shouldn't be hungry every hour, hour and a half. Your body should be able to wait about 2, 3 hours. 3 hours would be good, okay? But two and a half maybe, I would be fueling with something. So I'm not skipping and I'm keeping my blood sugar level nice and stable so it's not crashing down. And then I want you to balance your meals too. So foods such as meat, milk, sugar, and salt, they have extreme effects on the body. Seek out less extreme and healthier alternatives to satisfy you, such as your vegetables. Your body naturally wants to be balanced. The food we eat is a major contributing factor to the overall balance of the body. Vegetables and whole grains have mild effects on the body. Okay, we don't want to throw off the natural balance of the body by having a lot of, meat, sugar, milk, salt. Salt, here's a good one about salt. People are against salt. I don't know why. I feel like salt is actually a really good thing to have as long as it's a real salt. And a real salt would be like a Celtic salt or a sea salt or the Himalayan salt or your Redmond's real salt. Those have like a ton of minerals in them, like 77, like a lot of minerals. And you might be deficient in some of those minerals. So people who can't sleep well at night, I always tell them to put a little salt in some water like before bed and drink it and they'll sleep better as they're getting the minerals from the salt. Okay? Anything you put in a salt grinder. Well, again, here's what I'm telling you about salt. Salt's not going to be white. Real salt is going to have like a different color. Could be black, it could be pink, it could be gray. It won't be bleached white. So just know that, okay? So you're looking for a real salt here. All right. And we want to get you off the salty sweet roller coaster too. So you're probably having the wrong kind of salt. We got to get you out of that cycle. Next tip here. Oh, and you can see here on the meals, I like to balance this with some other things like spirituality, physical fitness, my relationships, my career. Like, am I fulfilled? How's my life in general going? Because that plays a huge role in those cravings too. Like, if I'm not enjoying part of my life or I don't feel balanced in one of these areas, I tend to want to emotionally eat to kind of make up the difference. But again, if I'm working at some of these areas of my life where I know I could do better, cravings tend to go down and I just feel so much better. All right, let's talk about the next one then. We got to sneak in a little bit more protein here. So, adding protein to your meals and snacks will help keep your blood sugar levels steady and reduce sugar cravings since protein imbalances, they can cause sugar cravings. But you can also think beyond the cow or the chicken. Be creative with that quinoa or some beans or some nuts, some eggs, some greens, and some fish. I love some chicken sausage without any added sugar with some beans and some kale for just a quick meal. Okay. When looking at a meal or a snack, think of this: think fat plus fiber, which is your vegetable, plus protein. If you can remember those three. And when I say fat, I mean your healthy fats like your avocados, your walnuts, your coconut butter, or your coconut. They have coconut. It is coconut butter. I think just comes in a jar. It's not coconut oil. It's different than that. Okay, like coconut manna. That's kind of really good. But if you have some of those healthy fats or your some people like a handful of roasted nuts too. That's okay too, but just don't go crazy on the nuts. But when you're looking at a meal or a snack, think of that. Like, what's a good fat, what's a good fiber, and what's a good protein? That's a balanced meal. In the nutrition world, how much of what types of protein one should consume is highly debated. Some say that high quality animal meat is needed for optimal health, but others advocate for a plant based diet. And you've got to experiment with what works for your body at this time in your life. And this way, you'll be able to successfully guide yourself to your appropriate protein source. Cashew nuts, yeah. And some people don't do cashews, right? I know, like, I can't remember if it's the paleo or keto community. They don't like the cashews and things like that for whatever reason. But you just have to find what works best for your body. And I say, hey, if God put some of these foods on the earth, why are we eliminating all that stuff from our diet? We should be having some of these foods, even potatoes. They get a bad rap, or bananas, but it was put here to kind of for a reason. I just say don't overdo it on any one thing. Let's balance all of that out with some dark green leafies too. Here's my next tip for you. We got to get you moving. So many people wake up and they sit in the car during rush hour and then spend all day sitting at their desk at work before jumping in the car for the commute home and then collapsing on the couch for the rest of the evening. Does this sound familiar to you? If it does, you could be putting your health at risk. Has anyone ever heard of how sitting is now known as the new smoking? Yeah, you could put that in the chat box if you've heard that. Well, it's that serious. It's best to avoid sitting for extended periods. I would set a timer every 30 minutes. Just get up, maybe do some lunges, some squats, walk around the office. Cravings for sugar or alcohol are typical signals that you may need to get moving more. If you're thinking, it's okay, I go to the gym after work or on my lunch break, then you may be in for a surprise, because research has shown that going to the gym after work or during your lunch does not completely counteract the effects of a sedentary work day. So set some timers and start getting up more. But fear not, the good news is that movement throughout the day can help, even if the moves are minor. You can squeeze in extra activity during your day. You just need to think about it differently. How am I going to do that? Okay. Do any type of physical act. You could do any type of physical activity every day, all day. Okay. Whatever you like to do, but find movement or exercises that you enjoy. Not only will your muscles thank you for it, but it will improve circulation and make you less tired. So, what time do most of you get up in the morning in Arizona? Well, I'm up at 4 a.m. because I'm in bed early. I'm in bed at 8:30 or 9 p.m. And if you're getting some good quality sleep, because you're starting to produce the hormones that help you to get to sleep between the hours of 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. So if you're up past 10 and you're going into the late nights, this is going to be really bad. Your hormones start to get wacky and out of balance. We need to make sure that we're in bed maybe 20, 30 minutes earlier than we're doing right now. Okay. You can set your Fitbit to notify you so you walk at least 250 steps per hour. Great tip, Polly. Yeah. Okay. So, and Jim, he's up from 7 to 8:30 is his waking up time. It's been past 10 to 12 as of late going to bed. Okay. So I'd recommend don't go to bed later than 10 if you can really make this a healthy habit for you. Let's make that your goal is 10 o'clock. And if it is 12, it's okay. Just say, you know what, today I go to bed at 11:30 instead of 12. You just start upping it. Meet yourself where you're at and then start upping that time until you can get it down to 10 o'clock. Because again, those hormones that are really starting to balance out and reproduce healthy cells in your body, all of the great stuff happens between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. So we need to get you all the sleep you can get between those hours. Okay. All right. Then my next tip for you guys is this: have a plan. So, whether you bring your snacks and lunch to work or planning to go to a restaurant, have a plan for what you will eat and when you will exercise throughout the day to keep you on track. When the decisions have already been made, it is easier to follow when you may be feeling weak. So, have a plan. When is your weakest time of the day? When is that weakest time? Start to plan for that time period first and have healthy resources available. Now, for me, it's around 2:33 p.m., right? We're getting there right now. And when I crave something sweet, so when I'm craving sweets, I'm going to go make myself a cup of herbal tea, maybe some blueberry tea. Ginger or licorice tea to help satisfy my sweet tooth. Having a plan may help you to avoid running out to a coffee shop for a pick me up, saving time, money, and your health. Or you could bring my favorite snack, which is an organic apple with some almond butter or some mixed nuts for a tasty afternoon snack. But if you're going to a work reception or a summer barbecue, right now it's the holidays, maybe it's a Christmas party, load up on a salad or veggies before you go so you don't mindlessly eat a lot of that faux junk food that's going to be there. This is important, you guys. So think about this. You can make up your mind before you even go to that party of what you're going to eat and how much of it you're going to eat. We don't always know what they're going to serve, but we can decide how much of it we'll eat and all of that. There's some choices we still have control over. All right, so know where to get healthy quick meals for when you didn't make a plan. This could be from a nearby restaurant or grocery store with salad bars or a deli counter. If possible, review the menu ahead of time. That's before you are hungry to decide what is best to order, especially important when you are taking out a client and may not have as much time to review the menu at the table. So think about real food here. And if you want to indulge, ask a friend to share your meals when dining out. That's always a good idea to share a meal so you don't over.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes.
Oh, shoot. We just lost Heather, you guys.
Yeah. I'm sure she'll log back in.
Yeah. This is great. Everyone like it so far?
It's awesome.
Yeah, I think I might book her every month to do like different topics. I love the way she speaks and her energy, and she sounds great. I haven't met her. This is the first time.
Yeah, she's really good.
Yay.
I like it a lot too.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, Jim, you talk about your wine a lot. I'm keeping quiet over here. That's definitely my weakness is the Chardonnay as well.
Mine too.
Oh boy, there she is. Oh, she's muted. You're muted, Heather.
I mean, I feel like I'm dealing with a lot of bad habits. She's
Okay.
talking about me. I'm just trying to find my way out of it.
Sorry, I don't know what happened, you guys. I'm back.
Good. We talked
Okay.
you're back. All positive.
All positive.
Yay.
I could hear you the whole time, but I couldn't, you didn't see me. So
We
thank you for all of that nice stuff you said, you guys. And also, let's see, I want to make sure we check everyone's questions here so we don't leave anybody in the dark. Is there anything you guys want me to cover? What else is going on here? Okay. Just let me know so we can answer any questions that you have. Let me just quickly pop this right back up here. See if I can find that workshop. There it is. Share it with you here. Okay, so what's your top tip that you're going to put into action today? What's one thing that you learned from this workshop today that you are for sure going to put into practice? Pop it in there. Throw away my white salt and get better salt. Yeah, so good. Okay, good. That's a really great one. I really think if you take anything away from today's workshop, I would hope that you would drink more water. And I know a lot of you are probably at the good point of drinking water now. Good filtered, clean water. That's what they taught me in health coaching school. If people did nothing else but took from you the advice to drink more water, their life would be infinitely better. Their health would be so much better. Water just has a way of doing that. So thinking about cutting out some of the drinks we're drinking and just adding in more water. I'm going to put the agave nectar in a dark corner of the pantry. Yeah, I would. Okay. You know what they do have though is some pure date syrup. That's kind of like agave nectar, but it's made from dates. I think you're going to like that. It's really good. Okay. Go find that at Natural Grocers. Plan out meals for the day and the night before. Be more mindful to plan meals. Good. Planning is so, so important. You have control of so many things. And when you're not planning, guess what happens? Your brain has two parts, a higher brain and a lower brain. And that lower brain, that primal brain, the monkey brain, they call it, starts to take over and just starts to grab all the junk. It's just what we do. And it's not your fault. It's just the way our bodies were wired and programmed. Okay. Back in the caveman days, when they killed an animal, they ate it all right then and there and they stored it in their body. And so we kind of have that tendency in us just to eat the whole bag of chips or whatever it is in front of us. So we got to be more mindful. We got to have a plan. What time of day is it the hardest for you that you can have some good, healthy things to bring? Okay, good. And now let's see if we can come to the next slide here. If you want to work with a coach, I do free 30-minute calls. So why don't you do this? Put my number in your phone. It might not be now, but it might be another time in your life where you're like, yeah, I think I want to lose some weight, or I want to get healthier, or I need some life coaching. Because a lot of people have depression and anxiety right now. A lot of people, if you're on social media, you'll see the battle going on, right? Political stuff and COVID-19 and masks and no masks. I think if you're really taking care of your body and eating clean, I have found for myself that that stuff doesn't even bother me. I'm totally neutral about either side. I don't hate one side and love one. I just, whatever. You just live your life to its fullest and you're happy. And that stuff just tends not to bother you as much. So take care of your body, do your self-care. I got a massage planned for tomorrow morning. That's what you got to do. You've got to put this stuff into your routine to take care of yourself. All right, you guys, thank you so much. Being more cautious on everything, what I need to do and avoid living single and alone at home. Yeah, definitely. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for coming to this webinar. Thank you, Kelly, for having me on.
Yes, thank
Hopefully
you. It was incredible. Thank you.
Hopefully we'll see you again. And if you have any ideas for future stuff you would like me to teach you in the future that come to your mind, let Kelly know. She can let me know, and I can just get a workshop going for you guys.
Yeah.
Okay. And
You know what,
really go deep and teach you
Heather,
some
I'm
good
going to
stuff.
follow up with everybody, and I'll even do a brief anonymous survey so we can get some
Yeah.
feedback, and I will send out your handout that I forgot about earlier today.
Yes.
And
Send
then
that
I'll get,
handout.
suggestions for future topics as well.
Okay, good. And let's remember this. When we're looking at the labels, remember the grams of sugar, we got to divide that number by 4. This is a little bit of math you're going to have to do. And that's how many teaspoons are in whatever you're eating. Okay. So be sure to go look at all of that. Start reading your labels and looking at those grams of sugar. Mwah! Thank you guys so much. You were awesome. You were a great group. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and we'll see you hopefully around the new year. We'll do this again.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much.